Hi everyone. In today's video, I'm going to explain what is secondary data, the difference between primary data and secondary data, and when is it okay to use secondary data. Welcome to Search Research with your online thesis guide and advisor Dr. Sam, and let's get started with today's video. Often you might have heard that you have to collect data for research. So if you are doing any kind of thesis work, whether it's honors, masters, or doctorate thesis, you have to collect data. Now that is not always true. Sometimes you may get away by not collecting the data yourself and using something called secondary data. So secondary data is the data that has been collected previously. Someone else has gathered it for his or her own purposes. Researchers leverage secondary data analysis in an attempt to answer a new research question or to examine an alternative perspective on the original question of a previous study. Alright, I'll give you a few examples and then you will understand it. Then in that comparison, what is primary data? Now, primary data is the original data that researchers collect for a specific purpose. So you may collect it or your research team might collect the data, but you are involved in the collection of data. That is the primary data. The secondary data, someone else collects it. So what is an example of secondary data? That could be government documents, right? It could be something like census reports. It could be some kind of historical data. All right, so let's take an example. Let's say you are a new entrepreneur and you are thinking of opening a new business. Now you could leverage the census data, the old census data that has been collected, the census report of your locality, and to find out how it can benefit you. For example, what is the average age of people who live in your area, or the household income, or the education level in a particular geographic region. So by digging into this census data, you can then be informed whether you should open a particular business or not. So if you are thinking of opening a Lamborghini, a Lamborghini car, a studio of a Lamborghini cars, it's not called a studio, it's called a sales office for a Lamborghini car. So whether the people in that area, can they afford the Lamborghini car or not? All right, so how can you find out whether they will really come to buy the cars or not? You can find that out through the secondary data, and then you can find out if they have the affordability or not, whether they will come to your business place and they will buy it or not. So what are some of the things you have to think of before using the secondary data? Firstly, you have to think about under what were the conditions of its production. For example, taking the previous example, if you are thinking of opening up a Lamborghini showroom, Lamborghini is one of the most expensive cars in the world if you don't know what Lamborghini is. So if you're thinking of opening a showroom and you go into the old census data, but that census data was collected much before there were any industrialization took place. Maybe that time there were no factories, no universities around, maybe people didn't have jobs. So that census data is of no use in 2021. You need to collect census data, or you need to analyze the census data then, which is of recent past. So you have to think about that the data that you're analyzing, is it relevant today or not? Is it reflecting similar conditions or not? So that is what you have to think of before you start using this secondary data. When else do you use it? If you are using statistical data sets, have the variables changed over time? All right. So for example, if there were no schools or universities in an area, of course the level of education would have been down historically. So let's say you go back into the 1960s in a town where there were no schools and universities. So the education level of most of the people there would be much lower than now in 2021, when there are universities or schools in the district. So if you are trying to see whether you are trying to find out what is the average education of the people, education level of the people, you can't take data from the 1960s when there were probably lesser universities and lesser schools. So then you have to think about, have the variables changed? So what is the variable? So the variable is the higher the number of schools and universities in an area, maybe it is directly correlated to a higher education level. So you have to think like that. Then you also have to think about, have the indicators used to measure the variables changed or not? What indicators were used to measure a certain variable? So if you were using an indicator to measure household income, right? Household income, and you were, the indicator that was being used was jobs. That was it. That's it. But nowadays, people are entrepreneurs, people own businesses. There are so many household businesses going on. There are retail shops, there are online shops. So the indicators, the variables have changed to measure the variables. So if you are now trying to measure the household income, you cannot purely rely only on the job income. You also have to consider if people are managing businesses, running their own shops or not. All right, so that is what I mean. Before you start using the secondary data, analyzing it, you have to think about all this as well. You have to critically look at the secondary data to think of how it has changed with today's times. So what are some of the reasons of using secondary data? When do we use secondary data? What are some of the reasons for using secondary data? Let's get started. Firstly, if collecting the primary data is expensive and difficult. All right, let's say that you have to go on a cruise ship, all right, and stay there for 3 months and collect data. Now that is an expensive, especially if nobody is funding you or you have limited funding. You can't go on a cruise ship and collect data. You probably would have to then wait ashore, wait for people to get off the ship and then interview them. No, then there's no point. So at that point of time, you probably have to rely on somebody else who has probably collected the data. Maybe the cruise ship owner has collected some data. You have to use it. You can't go on the cruise ship and spend months on cruise ship to collect data. All right. When your primary data is not enough, this could be because of a low sample size. All right, because you are not able to get enough sample. Let's say there is a particular disease you are investigating, and that disease is very rare. It happens to hardly 1 in every 10,000, 20,000 people. Then you can't rely on the 10 people who have had that disease. That is not enough. So then you have to use the secondary data. The third reason is the data you want already exists in some form. So if the data that you want already exists, then what's the point of you collecting the primary data unless it's answering a new research question, or it is it is of some other purpose. If the data that you want already exists and that can be applied to answer your research question, maybe the people who collected it answered some different question, but you can use that data, analyze it in a different way and answer your research question, then why not go for it? You don't have to collect primary data. But remember, with research you have to always justify that why you didn't collect the secondary data. You should be able to justify it to the examiner. So when you are submitting your thesis or your paper, then you must be able to justify why you did not collect the primary data, why secondary data was enough for you. Remember that argument before you go ahead. Number 4, when the secondary data may shed light on your primary data. So not only you have collected primary data, but to confirm or contradict the findings, or maybe highlight some particular issue in your primary data, you may use the secondary data. All right. So for example, you have shown that the number of online businesses has led to a average increase of household income. All right. Now, if that has happened in your country, you can probably take an example of another country where this has happened and then confirm it that this happened in probably Australia. So this is now happening here in South Africa as well. Something like that. You can do a comparative analysis and show that. All right. When else do you use it? When you may confirm or contradict your findings. So again, this is a nice comparison, or you can do that. So say for example, you are using the case study approach and you have analyzed a few case studies, and those case studies will be your secondary data. But then you can do a comparison with your own primary data, and that time you can show whether the findings of your research are similar to the case studies or different from the case studies. So then also you can use secondary data. The secondary data can also be used if it allows you to focus on the analysis and the interpretation. So if, for example, some secondary data consist of a lot of numerical data, and probably what you collected is qualitative statements or something like that. You collected qualitative statements, whereas you need some numerical data to support those qualitative statements. So that will be helpful as well. So maybe you conducted only focus groups and interviews, and maybe you want access to some questionnaire data, some quantitative surveys based on Likert scale use. Then you can use that as well. When else do you use secondary data? Because you cannot conduct research study in isolation from what has already been done. All right. So let's say now you are trying to investigate the impact of COVID on loss of jobs. All right. Let's say you are trying to investigate that, but now you are trying to do a comparison with a previous pandemic. Like for example, there was SARS many years back. There was something very similar called SARS, which was happening in China, Hong Kong, and those areas, and that may have also led to a loss of jobs. Now you're trying to compare it. So, but now you cannot create the SARS issue, isn't it? So you have to go back and get the secondary data when SARS was happening, when that was a pandemic, kind of a pandemic as well, and people were losing jobs, or people lost their lives, or the effect on lungs capacity. So something like that. Then you can use the secondary data as well. And finally, more data is collected than ever used. So sometimes having that extra data helps you just to do a comparison, or confirm, or if you have any supporting material, that's always helpful. So whenever you write a thesis report, the more types of data you can use to confirm or contradict your findings, the examiners will be impressed more. So guys, I'm just trying to make these short videos good enough for you to not get bored, and also for you to gain some knowledge. Let me know what you thought about this video. This video was to address the doubt that you can only use primary data for thesis. That's not correct. If you can justify the use of secondary data in your thesis or your paper, of course go with it. But remember, the examiner will always ask you as to why you only use secondary data. So I would always recommend that not only use secondary data, but supplement it with some kind of primary data, because that shows that you have tried to find out if it confirms or not. But like I said before, there are some research topics in the world for which you cannot probably collect primary data, or you cannot have access to primary data. At that point of time, using the secondary data, if it is valid, if it is reliable, then the examiners will of course look at it, and they will approve of it, provided that you can justify the reason. Thank you for watching, guys, and I look forward to hearing your comments and feedback. Bye for now.